Welcome to the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast. Over 90% of today's home buyers start their buyer journey online. Here we talk with not only industry experts, but also your fellow home builder marketers to learn how you can succeed in our incredibly competitive digital world. And now, here are your hosts, Greg Bray and Kevin Weitzel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast. I'm Greg Bray with Blue Tangerine.
And I'm Kevin Weitzel with Outhouse.
And we are very excited today because we've got a special episode going on here. It's part one of a special crossover event, and we're excited to have Carol Morgan and Kimberly Mackey joining us today. Carol and Kimberly, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Now, I feel like, Kevin, that no introduction is necessary, but for those few people who don't know Carol and Kimberly, we're going to let them give us just a minute to introduce themselves. So, Carol, why don't you go first? Give us just that quick background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having us here today. So I'm Carol Morgan. I'm president and founder of Denim Marketing. We do all things content. So if you are a home builder or a developer and you're looking for media relations, blogging, social media, email marketing, campaigns or promotions, or you just need somebody to write your awards entries, give us a call.
And Kimberly, what's that quick background intro for you?
Thanks again. I'm excited we're doing this crossover. So my company is New Home Solutions Consulting. As I like to say, we are the company that you call when you want sales to be the engine that drives the train rather than what runs it off the tracks. So I go in, do immersion consulting, make sure all your processes, procedures, your systems, everything supports predictable, profitable sales.
Well, everybody knows, and you two definitely know because you've been on before, where we're going next. I need to hear an interesting fact about you that has nothing to do with work or the home building industry. Something personal, and we'll go with Carol first.
I get to go first. I'll have all sorts of interesting facts. I will share one that I think a lot of people probably don't know. We have a pet European starling. His name is Chirp, and he can sing the AT&T iPhone ring. He makes the dong perfectly. He calls for my dog. He meows like a cat, and he can make the sound of every single door in my house. And it's quite scary at 2 a.m. when you hear the back door open and you pause for a second and say, was that the bird or did somebody just break in? So Chirp is quite the character.
That is something we didn't know.
I will attest to that. I've met Chirp multiple times, and it's always fun to get him to do stuff. Something that people don't know about me that I've been on and had to do this so many times now, I've got to think. So I grew up in East Tennessee. I'm from a small town called Etowah. I can talk like I'm from Etowah if you want me to. This is the way we talk when we were from Etowah, Tennessee. So many people are always confused. They're like, where are you from? They can't figure out my accent. They know it's somewhere in the South, but now I'm actually from a small town in Etowah, Tennessee, and of course, a graduate of the University of Tennessee. Go Vols!
Well, bless your heart. So.
Exactly.
Well, for those who don't know, Kimberly and Carol are the proud hosts of the Sales and Marketing Power Hour, which is why we've got them both here today, because we are doing a special crossover episode where we're going to spend some time today talking together about sales and marketing. And then we're going to get on the Sales and Marketing Power Hour coming up a week after this one goes live and kind of continue that conversation and see what we can learn from each other today. So today, Kevin and I get to do the hard questions. And then next time, Carol and Kimberly get to take over and do the hard questions or the easy questions for us. They're only going to be easy ones, I think.
It's the answering that's the hard part.
All right. So our topic today is sales and marketing. Whose job is it? Because sometimes there's some confusion there. Kimberly, why do you feel like sometimes there's confusion between sales and marketing?
I think there's confusion because the jobs are so closely aligned. We need both, and we need them working like a fine-tuned machine is really what needs to happen. But oftentimes people get confused. So it's sales and marketing, not sales or marketing. And I think that's where people get a little sideways.
And as a follow-up, should one drive the other? Or do they just have to work in unison? Oh.
Well, I think that's going to depend on who you ask.
That's why I asked Kimberly first.
Okay, Kimberly can answer first.
Okay, all right, here I go. Don't throw things at me, okay? So I believe that marketing should drive sales, but I believe sales needs to be the ultimate result. Therefore, it needs to be the top seat. So given the choice, I love it when we have a VP of sales and marketing so that they're over both instead of having those two very diverged in a company, because I often feel like then there can be that communication breakdown. But when marketing is in charge, we do things like fire our OSC team and run sales based purely on analytics rather than really understanding what's happening in the field. And again, it takes both. We have to have the analytics, but we need to understand why, what's causing those analytics and what's driving those numbers, and do they align with our goals, which is, of course, to have those predictable, profitable sales. How's that? Is that close enough to politically correct?
I'm surprised. It was pretty close.
It was hard. It hurt.
It hurt.
Now, Carol, you're a little more on the marketing side, right? So why is it called sales and marketing instead of marketing and sales? If marketing's driving the engine, shouldn't marketing be at the top of the list?
Golly, I agree with you on that, Greg. We should make that change immediately. Not only should we change it from the sales and marketing power hour to the marketing and sales power hour, but we should just change that universally, because without marketing, there would be no sales.
Why don't I have a bullhorn or something to make a loud beeping noise? We have sound effects.
Well, all right. So Carol, from your perspective, is it better to have a sales and marketing leader who does both, or is it better to have those roles split? What's been your experience?
Golly, I am torn on that. I think if you have the right person in that capacity, that works very well. But I would argue that most people don't have both of those skill sets. And they end up really only doing one job or the other, which can be very frustrating to whoever they're not really managing, right? And it's a huge job too, right? So if the sales and marketing VP or whatever that highest title is really has both of those skill sets and has a big enough staff underneath them, it can work really, really well. But I've seen it go in both directions, because part of it's just having enough time. If you have a huge sales staff and you don't have a really strong director of sales, then that sales and marketing VP is spending all their time there and not spending really any time on the marketing side.
But can we all respectfully agree that owner of a company that has, and no offense to the fact that she's a woman, has a wife that loves the idea of selling homes, and it'd be a fun little thing to do in her spare time and give her something to do, and then she's overseeing everything? Can we all agree that that's probably not the best route to go versus having a sales leader or a marketing leader or a sales and marketing leader?
I think we could argue that on a whole lot of different levels, Kevin, including having your wife do all of your interior design, unless she's actually an interior designer who's been trained, may not be a good thing.
Yeah.
Or, having your husband do all of the whatever it is. If you don't have the skill set, then it's probably best left to a professional.
With regard to the sex roles here, they could be reversed.
They can be, absolutely.
We need to keep our gender roles fluid if we could.
We have our Beckys and we also have our Lances out there. It's just the way it is.
Okay.
Kimberly, have you seen the same thing that Carol was mentioning, though, that when the roles combined, that person tends to gravitate toward their personal background, whether they came from the sales side or the marketing side, and maybe give that side of the house a little more attention and love because they just get it more and understand it better?
I do agree with that. I think that's a very natural tendency. And I think Carol's point that whatever side is not your natural side, you need to have really strong support staff on that side. And it is true that you don't often find people who do both. When you do, it is magic. It really is phenomenal. But because we've brought these two disciplines up so siloed, not only in our industry, but really across industries, then I think that creates a little bit of that rub that wouldn't necessarily need to be there, because really it's everybody's job to support the marketing messaging, all of that. And it's also everyone's job in a company to sell. But not everybody understands that or understands their role in that.
So then is it the salesperson's job to generate leads? Or are they simply supposed to be there waiting for the leads to come because marketing's out there doing their magic and push the button that says make leads?
Can I take that one?
I was going to say, I know you want that one. My answer is yes, but I'll let Kimberly give it a longer answer and then I'll jump back in.
I think Carol and I are in agreement on this one. So yes, sales needs to drive their own traffic. In my world, sales drives 50% of their own traffic in a traditional community sales environment. So I'm going to add that little caveat in there because I'm getting ready to go to New Hampshire next week to work with a home building manufacturer that builds offsite timber frame, very expensive, gorgeous, beautiful homes. And so the role of the salesperson becomes a little bit different because they're not out front facing in the sales environment. But when your salespeople are out in the field and they have the opportunity to generate sales by getting out into the community, getting involved in things, cultivating their realtor VIPs, all that grassroots stuff, building the referral base, then yes, 50% of the salesperson's job is to lead gen and using those mechanisms. The other 50% comes from the company and the company lead gen through their digital marketing efforts, through their messaging, through any of their other traditional marketing efforts, word of mouth, and support of all of those grassroots efforts by the salespeople. So that's my short answer. I could go on for 2 or 3 days about this, but I will zip it right now and let Carol have her opportunity here.
Yeah, I always appreciate Kimberly's perspective on it because so many times I think we as marketers hear, oh, well, I didn't get any leads today. And then you ask, well, what are you doing for agent outreach? And what are you participating in? What are you as a salesperson doing to drive the ship too? So I always appreciate a sales agent that's engaged and actively driving their own leads. I also really appreciate as a marketer, a sales agent that will let us know where their best leads are coming from, because we can see on a campaign that we're driving tons of traffic to a landing page or to a website, or we've got 5,000 opens, 25% open rate of the latest email campaign. But what I can't see is does any of that convert to foot traffic? So for me, I like to know as a marketer what's working and what's not working as well.
To that point, then, if a salesperson is out there trying to generate their own leads, in today's world, can we really track that effectively to say, oh, well, what they did generated this lead because I saw them at the Little League game and
Right.
they came in the next week? Or is the reality, I saw them at the Little League game, they asked me what I do for a living, I told them how great the builder is and how much fun, and they told me they were looking for a house, and then they went home and got on the website. And they actually filled out the form on the website. And so the salesperson had this influence on that lead, but is the website getting credit for that lead? Because then they talk to the OSC and it looks like a web lead. Sometimes are our salespeople maybe doing some of that work and not getting credit for it?
I think it's possible. Yeah.
Absolutely. But the salespeople will generally speak up and say, hey, I just saw that person on Saturday, especially if we are measuring the right KPIs, right? So, what are those key performance indicators and what is your salesperson doing? If our sales leadership is having that conversation in their planned encounters and on their scorecards every week to say, you're responsible for generating X number of leads per week. What did you do? And your salesperson should have an answer for that because they're expecting it. They know it's part of their role. It's a key performance indicator and they don't want a red on that week. So they're going to say, well, Saturday I was out at the Little League game and I talked to so-and-so and now I have an appointment with them. They went on the website and they registered with Susie, our OSC, but I talked to them on Saturday and told them to do that. Again, we have to go beyond just what the numbers are. What's the story behind the numbers is really going to be where our decisions are made.
Okay, then. So now we've got this sales army that's going, all right, we're going to create leads. Okay. And they start like doing HTML email formatting and sending stuff out, and they start printing their own brochures and all these handouts, and they're ugly, Carol.
Of course they're ugly.
Yeah.
So should they be doing that level of marketing efforts to find new leads?
I would say no. So if they need support materials, they should go to marketing and say, this is what I would really like. Does it exist? Can you help me? Can you create so that everything stays within brand and on point?
That is way more professional than the answer I thought that I was going to get from Carol, which was going to be a loud and vigorous hand slap. Because no, trust me being a sales monkey my entire life, I know what it's like and the benefit you can get from just leveraging the power that marketing brings to the table, the language that they use, the messaging, the
Right.
on-spot branding that, as a salesperson, you might think you have that game down, but the harsh reality is you probably don't.
Well, and you have to have your branding and communicate the branding with everyone, including your sales department. We use
Correct.
these colors. We always have to have our fair housing logo. I'm going to go scream this from the rooftops. Fair housing, fair housing. You must have fair housing on everything, everywhere, all the time. If your logo is on it, it must have a fair housing logo on it. I don't know why people don't know this in our industry because they're required by law to know that. But things like that, if you have the template set up, so sales should be instrumental in communicating with marketing what they want to put out there, but marketing needs to make it pretty and make sure it's on brand and make sure that it supports the message that we're trying to get out there. Because, yeah, I mean, sometimes somebody's sitting out in the field, not really realizing everything else that's going on within the company, can be well meaning and put something out. Oh, heaven forbid, the typos. Oh, the typos, the grammar. I mean, get some Grammarly people. Come on.
This is true.
Stop ignoring the squiggly line under words.
Right.
So what we're saying is that there are some skills that the marketing team brings to the table in the creative messaging outreach type of skill set. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, one hopes so. So I would say yes. That's what you're hearing.
I would agree with that.
So, Carol, let me ask you a question. When you're working for a builder and they're coming to you and wanting help and they need some upward trajectory of their numbers, their analytics, are you asking them for their sales team's input? Or is this just based off of your assessment of what that company is, where they're going, what you see currently, and how you can make improvements? Or are you saying, what is it you're wanting to drive?
Yeah, so that's an interesting answer. So I really think it depends on who our contact is and how much access we have to the sales team. In a lot of cases, we don't have a whole lot of access to the sales team, but we are reporting to somebody who does talk to the sales team. In some cases, we're super lucky and have some sales team members on our monthly calls, as well as having the OSC participate in those. And that's always nice because then we get real feedback of how are the messages resonating? How is that promotion actually performing? What can we do better from their perspective with the next one? Because, it's kind of hard. We were talking about silos earlier in this conversation. Marketing can become a silo. And just because we can create something pretty that we think is going to work and be effective, it's got to work boots on the ground as well. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
It does. It does.
Okay.
You mentioned the silos, Carol, and OSCs, I think, are in this really interesting middle, lost, no man's land in between the marketing and the sales team a lot of times.
Yeah.
Often they end up reporting up the sales side because they're talking to the prospective customer, but they have a lot of feedback, I believe, for the marketing team to be able to find out what's really working. Where are people getting confused? What messages are they not understanding? What questions are they asking that maybe our marketing could answer better up front? How do we tap into that in a more consistent way? What have you seen work with builders?
I like it if they're on the monthly calls with us, which a lot of builders don't want to do. They don't want to take an hour out of their OSC's day. They want them answering those questions, or they just don't feel like it's their place to be on the marketing side. So I think that's a little bit of a stigma we need to overcome, because you're absolutely right, Greg. Most home builders, the OSC is kind of, owned by the sales team, not shared with the marketing team. So it's a little bit of a mindset we need to change, because they are absolutely the front line for so many of these home builders. They see and hear more from the consumers than any of the rest of us do.
Kimberly, have you seen builders do that well?
Yeah, I like OSCs when they report to sales just because I feel like we can make them part of the team. We can have a little bit more cohesiveness. But our dear friend Leah Fellows with Blue Gypsy Inc. prefers that they're from the marketing side of things. And for that very reason, because they become that bridge between marketing and sales. And she often works with the marketing professional more than she does the sales manager. So again, it's why it should be sales and marketing, because I think we all need to work together. But yeah, I do agree that OSC becomes that hybrid person. They're on the tip of the spear and they're seeing it from both sides and getting the feedback. And often they're in a very unique position to be able to give us information before our analytics or any of our reporting or even our salespeople realize it.
So you still think, you're saying sales and marketing, not marketing and sales.
Yes, I'm still saying the end result needs to be, we must get sales. So no, you're never going to hear me deviate from that.
At least you got the and right. You're not calling it an or.
I got the and right. Yes, it's not sales or, right.
Well, Kimberly, another piece of the whole process between getting the sale is actually how do we design what it is we're going to sell? Who's deciding what type of product we want to actually go to market with? What type of buyer is the right fit for that kind of a product? Where should we price it compared to what else is out there? Is that a sales job or a marketing job or something else completely different?
Well, interestingly, in the larger companies, that tends to fall in the land department
Hmm.
and not in the sales or the marketing department. So, which
Right.
is so unfortunate that the pro formas are handled through that part of the company solely. I've
Mhm.
always felt like you should have, again, land goes out. Let's find the land and then let's do our pro forma to see what fits, what works, who is that demographic. This, if you build it, they will come. I think we're kind of at the end of that. We've had a little cycle here for the last 5 years where, yes, if you built it, they would come. But now we've got to go back to being able to do a pro forma. I don't know many sales and marketing professionals who still have those old school skills of being able to do that. Even with our land guys, a lot of this is, well, my gut says that this is going to work. We're still basing a lot off of our gut. Really, you've got to be able to do that pro forma.
From a person that has a large gut, I can tell you that it is not the best way to lead your life, is to lead with your gut. But hey, I have a question for you. I'm going to aim this one at Carol because this one drives me nuts as somebody that sells my wares to marketing talent out there. Why is it? I call it a disease. Something is wrong with the mindset of home builders and the fact that they'll have year one, year five. From year one to year five, we've seen this amount of growth that is measurable and we can drive it all back to the marketing team. However, why is it that when the times are good, that home builders will go, you know what? Hey, let's cut the budget a little bit. Let's get rid of our marketing person that made all this stuff happen. Well, you never see them say, oh, wow, belts need to be tightened. We're really tight. We're not selling anything. We have to get rid of the marketing person. That's when they double down. But why is it when times are good? And I know this is a long question, but why is it when times are good that home builders feel that it's okay just to get rid of the person that is literally the person driving that ship in that regard?
I'd love to interview them and ask them that myself. The number of home builders that we saw during the COVID home sales rush that let go of OSCs and let go of their entire outsourced marketing department and slimmed down on their in-house department was shocking to me. I won't say that we're really in a tough time now, but we are in a position now where builders are having to market again. There's builders out there that are having to kind of start over and rebrand and relook at their website and figure out, what happened to everything in these last 4 years because they, just kind of skirted along on what they had in 2019 and haven't updated it since. So I guess I really don't truly understand the mindset. I think it's a little bit of a numbers game. They're like, oh, well, here's a way we can save money. We're going to sell stuff even without them. Let's save some money. But it's short sighted because you're going to make up for it whenever it's time to start marketing again, right, Kevin? You're going to have to spend even more money to make up for the fact that you didn't.
Yeah, it takes so much to get that train moving again.
Well, Kimberly, where does the sales team fit in from digital outreach, social media activities? What do we want to allow them to do from posting on LinkedIn or Facebook or something like that? And what is not their spot to play in that marketing should only be doing?
That's a tough one because, of course, with the bigger builders that I work for and the publicly traded builders, those guys have such strict rules that sales is just like, well, forget it. I'm not going to do anything because marketing won't allow it. They won't allow us to do this or that or the other. We miss a lot of opportunities there. I understand we've got to have brand, and maybe I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here. We do have to have brand. We have to support that, but we also need to give salespeople a job to do. So get those customer testimonials. You're the one that built the relationship with these people. You know their story. Get those video testimonials. Get your salespeople out there doing those video walkthroughs and being out in the community with the videos, doing those kinds of things, because it doesn't have to be a professional production all the time when we're talking about social media. Give them parameters. Yes, absolutely give them parameters and things that they can and can't do. When I'm going in, especially with the smaller companies where we can control this and maybe they don't have as much of a social media presence, we create a calendar and we have topics that are assigned for every day. And the salespeople go in and they pick which day they're going to do, and they're required to pick so many social media topics that they're going to cover. And everybody knows that's their day, that they're going to do it. Yes, it goes back and it goes through an approval process, and maybe they're not the ones who are actually doing the posting, but they are providing the content and sending it back to us so that we have that rich content, that person about town kind of look to things that makes it feel more real and more genuine. Dogs, animals, get pictures of dogs in the communities and at their events and the things that they're doing to drive their own traffic. So realtors of the week, that sort of thing, people out on the home site, and not just the static, somebody standing there holding a sold sign, but have fun with it. I like it when people are jumping up in the air or doing something really crazy, or spray paint a shovel gold. I don't care. Just do something fun.
I personally find the most entertainment out of those videos that are shot that make it look like they're being held at gunpoint and you must answer the question that you enjoyed buying this house, or we're going to murder your family, or whatever it would be. Those ones crack me up because it looks like somebody in a witness protection program. Yes, we
Well,
loved our buying of this house. Our salesperson was great.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
we do have to give a little bit of a shout out to a client that Greg, Kevin, you and I all share with Smart Dwellings, and their historical perspectives and dressed up in their costumes for the names of their floor plans.
Oh, that's
They
great.
do, and it's
They are
cool.
hilarious. So they do a good job with that. So funny, so different. You just don't have to be so cookie cutter, people.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that. So let's talk about budgets for just a quick second.
Hmm.
Because if you took a company like Smart Dwellings and they took a percentage of their sales to fund their marketing campaigns, Carol, where would they start? Again, they're competing against, well, not in their market. They're not competing like a KHOV, but a KHOV, just the marketing budget from one community in a KHOV can outdo the whole builder.
Absolutely, especially if you're a smaller builder and you're spending that 1%, or maybe you're even spending 2%. That 2% is still going to be a lot less than KHOV's 1%,
Yeah.
or maybe even KHOV's 0.5%. So it makes it tough. Got to spend smartly.
And stand out. Your messaging needs to really resonate. I think we're so afraid to do anything fun. Like we think this is brain surgery or something, and it's not. I mean, home building is fun and exciting, and there's so many stages and steps to it. Construction is cool. I know I'm a construction geek, but man, construction's cool.
It's very cool.
Well, Carol, can you give that small builder out there that's listening just a little bit of assurance that they can still compete in this world?
Oh, they absolutely can. And I think that they have some advantages over the publicly traded builders because they are, as Kimberly alluded to, the publicly traded builders run a really tight ship on social media. And I won't name any names, but you can go look at a lot of national, publicly traded builders' social media pages, and it's just what I call lifestyle fluff. It really doesn't tell you anything about what they're doing. It's just really, really pretty, and pretty's great, and they've got enough other marketing going on that they're going to drive the traffic. But the smaller builder has the opportunity to really drive traffic. So you're building a new model home. Maybe while you're in the framing stage, you walk through with a video camera and point out some of the really cool things going on behind the walls, that you use this type of insulation or you're using this type of pipe and why. And then you can follow along kind of the day in the life of. You can make it fun. The nice thing about being a privately owned builder is you can decide fun is allowed. So you can have a lot of fun. You can get your agents involved. I love it when agents are involved because they are, again, the boots on the ground. Maybe Denim's working for a client in California. We actually do have a client in California. I'm obviously not in California. I'm in Atlanta. So I love it when the realtors send us pictures, pictures with happy homeowners or a clip of a video or a photo that's in construction stages. So they absolutely can get involved. Making it fun is really the key. And I think that's the biggest thing that a small builder can do is they can make it more about the homes, more about the community, more about their relationships in that community. And then, maybe they launch a fun promotional campaign that has a creative aspect to it. I always like to say that if Flo from Progressive made insurance fun and the Gecko from Geico can make insurance fun, why on earth can't we have a little bit of fun with home building? So, find some reason for people to talk about you, then they're going to remember you.
I'm just trying to think of what Kevin could do with a gecko or something that would
Do
be
not
more
give
fun.
him ideas. Do not.
Exactly. Kevin, I could tell he's scheming.
He did have a talking cookie not too long ago.
Oh.
So
I still have a talking cookie.
A
Are you kidding
talking
me? That cookie hasn't disintegrated yet?
Nope.
That scares me.
I keep them safe somewhere in a drawer. I can't find them right now, but yes,
It must have a lot of preservatives in it. Do not eat the cookie.
not now. Now it's almost a year and a half, 2 years old. Senor Pablo was his name.
That
See,
wouldn't work in Florida. That thing would have grown so
with
many
a
things.
mold.
We have a dry heat here in Arizona, so they wind up just staying kind of just dry.
Oh, that's so scary.
Well, Carol and Kimberly, this has been a great discussion. I feel like we could go on for like another hour or so or more.
And we should.
Yeah. We could have a very powerful marketing and sales power hour on June 5th.
And sales. Can we call it that through the entire episode?
I think we
checked this.
should.
We are not calling it that. I'm going on strike if you change that.
Well, the marketing has to happen first. So I think sales should be last. Marketing and sales.
Marketing and sales, right?
So Kimberly, if somebody wants to join us on part 2, how do they find out the webinar link and everything for the June 5th event?
Well, the best way to do that is just to go on Facebook and search Sales Marketing Power Hour. Join our group on Facebook, and we will have the link on there for everybody to see. They can register. And the thing about the Sales and Marketing Power Hour is that we do it live. So we have a studio audience, Zoom audience, webinar audience, and you guys can join us. You can ask us your questions. You can try to trip us up. You can comment on Kevin's cookies or his hair or whatever you want. And I promise you, he's a big boy. He can take it. So join us live on June 5th at noon, which is a Wednesday. So make sure you join us and harass us and ask us all your questions about whether it should be marketing or sales or marketing. Maybe we'll take a live poll.
We should do a poll on that.
I'm going to redo all the graphics in the meantime. So we'll be the marketing and sales power hour.
All right, everybody.
Terrifying.
Well, normally we wrap this up, but this is a to be continued situation. So we are not going to act like we're finishing. We're just going to invite you to get registered and join us again a week from now on June 5th. Get registered for that and be able to ask your questions and help us continue this conversation. Thank you again to Carol and Kimberly for being with us. I'm Greg Bray with Blue Tangerine.
And I'm Kevin Weitzel with Outhouse. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about how Blue Tangerine and Outhouse can help you generate more qualified home buyer leads, visit bluetangerine.com and outhouse.net. If you've enjoyed our show today, please tell a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to join us again on the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast.